Well, this is a treat. It's not often that we get to talk to people that are actually knee deep in what's happening behind our industry. Over the last couple of years, we've really been dealing with some issues with new construction, and we have the source with us to dive into this topic today. We have the one, the only, Zev Solomon, the principal of ZSD Development. We know that over the last few years, we've seen probably some more roller coasters than typical. I mean, it's always a wild ride. Let's not say that. You've been at this for over 2 decades. I've been at this for over 2 decades. It's always a wild ride. The last few years have been especially the kind that we need to buckle up for. We know that inventory has been such an issue in that. And in my opinion, so much of that bottleneck is coming from a lack of new construction. What do you see as some of the challenges in new constructions now and what they've been in the last few years?
There's so many different challenges, and you can't look at either this year, last year, even pandemic or pre-pandemic. So since the Great Recession, since 2011, when the world kind of started to thaw, there's been no significant new construction product built. And the reason is that there's been such a fundamental shift in the marketplace away from condo specifically, and maybe more specifically away from house as investment. Pre-recession, everybody, including myself, my first purchase, looked at their house as an investment. How much money am I going to make on this acquisition, and how fast can I realize that? Post 2008, that doesn't exist for the most part. I could probably count on my 2 hands the number of pure investors I've sold to in the last 13, 14 years. It's gone from huge to functionally zero. So with that has been a shift away from early first-time buyer homes, studios, 1s and 2s, to only family-sized homes, 3 bedrooms, and in my case, more specific in the last couple of years, 4 bedrooms and 5 bedrooms. So what we've affectionately called single-family alternatives. So you have this dramatic shift over the last decade. Then you layer into that the pandemic. Then you layer into that inflation, and you just have a world that has so many headwinds when it comes to big scale new construction development. And that's really, I think, what you're talking about, is that you've got thousands of new construction apartments being delivered and tops a couple hundred new construction developer-sized for sale projects. Now, that's taking out of the market the 2 flats and the 3 flats, which kind of are here or there, proliferate. But the stuff at scale it's fundamentally just disappeared in the last decade.
No, I think you're absolutely right? What we saw so much in the city is that there was this huge push to what seemed like a safer environment for builders to build rental buildings, right? We had a limited supply of actual rental buildings. All the developers jumped onto that train and said, hey, this feels a little safer. I don't necessarily need to be so pre-sold to get this done, and did that. So I hear what you're saying in the sense that even by the time we got to the pandemic, we had new construction inventory issues that we were still dealing with, which just exacerbated since then.
Right. When you then look at the pandemic issues that came up, what did people want? Where did they want to be? The need or the desire for outside space, the need for home office, some of the other things that most of the existing condo, urban product, multifamily product didn't address. You can't turn on a dime. You can't say, okay, we've got this brand new need in the market. Let's design the next project that way and sell it and have it delivered in time where it makes a meaningful difference. The lifespan of a development in my world is 3 years. And so the pandemic didn't last 3 years. So if you thought about where were you the day before the pandemic started and where were you the day after, and you said, okay, I'm going to pivot in the middle of that, there's not enough time to pivot and finish and deliver before the cycle has already started to change. I don't think the cycle's changed post-pandemic from what happened during the pandemic, but it just doesn't happen on a dime.
No, and I think that's a great point, because I think a lot of people miss that in the sense that your ability to pivot in real time, you're handcuffed. Not that you don't necessarily want to, but you are facing the city, the code, the inspectors, and everything else that you've agreed to do. So you can't just say, hey, we're going this way today.
Right. So my pivot started probably in 2017. So one of the buildings I did that came on the market in 2017 was the first all 4-bedroom condo building I'd ever done. And no one had built 4-bedroom condos that I knew of maybe 100 years ago. But in my professional career, nobody had done it. So we did an all 4-bedroom building that did very well. And then the next building, we took that model and we amplified bits of it. Then in the next building, we amplified bits of it. So the amplifications can happen mid-market shift. So in the last amplification, we went from a 4-bed with an office that was undefined to a 4-bed with an office and a door, and from a 200 square foot outdoor space, which at the time was immense, to a 400 square foot office space, which was probably pandemic related. So we were able to make that modification, but we were already in the 4-bedroom space before the pandemic hit. And so this has been 7-8 years now of kind of defining a product type that we see more longevity with. But then when you talk about why is there no product, it would be pretty hard for me to pre-sell 100 units, a 100-unit building, a 4-bedroom product. Not impossible, but like you're looking for a pretty niche buyer who wants a house, who wants to stay somewhere, who sees themselves growing, sees themselves retiring, sees this kind of long-term stay in a place. And that group of buyers, they don't necessarily move that fast, especially the empty nester buyers. They have no urgency whatsoever.
Fair statement.
And truly, there's a lot of money there. Those people can buy the types of things in this market that are very expensive, but there's no urgency for them to buy today. Why would somebody coming out of a house feel the need to buy something pre-development, pre-construction that's not going to deliver for 2 years? There's no push for them. And so just the dynamics of having to pre-sell, it really comes back to pre-sales, but the dynamics of having to pre-sell big projects, 30, 40, possibly 50% for bank loan, really, really, really hard.